Hello, I'm your host Direct, and welcome to another episode of the Replay Review series. Today, we'll be looking at caprawolven, who asked me to do a personal vid, and I agreed because I didn't have anything to do. Caprawolven is the offtank for gold chains. So we'll see how she will play. We also saw her sometimes on the main tank, but that's fairly rare. So we'll see how she will do. I will of course look at her gameplay, then look at what went right, what went wrong, and give some improvement tips, like always. Anyways, let's start things off with the standard stuff, right? Gotta look at Sigma's job. So you are the off-tank. Your role as off-tank is to protect your main tank, but also be able to always turn back and help anyone in need, right? If there's anyone on your team who is like critical, you must be able to help them. Sigma is a high damage, high skill, high reward character. So you're probably gonna wind up with gold damage most of the games. Also, your flux is like somewhat of a support ultimate. You can save your team using flux. You can rock people out of important ultimates and stuff. So Sigma's fairly strong as a character overall. Your role here is to stick with the Orion, which Azaria usually does too. So you want to kind of stick to your Orion, but not only stick to your Orion, you can use your suction ability to eat bullets that would hurt the Rhine if like the Rhino is getting pressured pretty hard. You can also use your shield to advance together with your Rhine. Your rock can be used to disrupt enemies which are flanking. For example, enemy is right now on a tracer. If the tracer were to push your Ana, you should be able to help your Ana with that rock. Maybe hit the rock on the tracer and then one-shot kill her pretty quickly, because Sigma's damage output is insane. Let's see how you will play. I'm expecting... I have not rewatched this replay. This is a bit of an older replay anyways. So we want caprawolven to stick with the Rhine. And since you're playing Brawl, the Lucio is gonna stick with your Ana. War's gonna go with you, speed you in. And then the Sombra wants to commit a hack, and when she commits a hack, you can just push them with like the group of 4 you have right here. So let's see how this will work out. How you will peel for your team, how you will play corners. Sigma likes to play corners similar to Rhine. Corners like these, Sigma likes to play them like this, or like this one up here. I'm just marking all the corners that I can see right now. You can play those corners, also kind of like this corner right here. And since you are a slow burst damage kind of character, you can move in and out of cover without no problem, and shooting the orbs down main will do massive splash damage. You will not take as much damage since you're peeking. You're not really committing onto the open field like some characters with consistent DPS have to. So I'm just gonna roll this. Your main priorities is of course the enemy Sigma. You need to out-duel him, and you need to watch out for Tracer flanking. So let's see where we will go. We will go onto your perspective and play. There's 10 seconds until the match starts, and we're just gonna wait at 10 seconds.
Hello there.
for starting setup, try to stick with your Rhine. You yourself can play a bit further behind the Rhine since you're quite ranged and he is not. Yeah, like this area is fine. So now you see they have a hog. So your suck now, like when Sigma came out, suck was able to block hooks. Since it is no more able to block hooks, you need to be able to use your shield to block hooks. Or if you do not catch the hook, try to put a barrier between you and the target that he's trying to kill with the hook. So if he has somebody hooked in, you can put a shield between him and the hook target, and the hook target should survive. Okay, so the tracer got deleted. Let's see. Okay, you blocked the hook, that's nice, that's very good. Okay, you're engaging now. You're pulling the rock for no apparent reason. You're gonna throw it into the shield. With the rocks, don't throw them into the shields. Wait for the enemy Sigma to lower the shield and use suck. Your job with the rock right there, if the tracer isn't alive and able to contest something, or if you don't want to disrupt somebody on a flank, your job with the rock is to hit the enemy Sigma so he doesn't get shields. Since now you don't have rock, he's gonna gain shields when able to. But your Reinhardt cleaves through him, so he dies. So you're holding this quite well. I would not go for this. Yeah, go for playing around the vehicle. Poking in and out of cover is always good. You lose, you got a pick on the Ash, which is quite nice. You can use your suck, like... By the way, interesting. Sigma's hand is moving and paused. That's fairly interesting. Anyways, when Sigma has... if you have your suck up, right? You can suck bot as Sigma like Diva is to just eat Fire Strike all the time. If you want to. If there's nothing pressuring you and you know there's nothing is gonna pressure you immediately right now, you can always use your suck to eat Fire Strikes. Because you don't want the enemy Ryan to get his ult first. Although he is pretty far down on ult charge right now. Also, you should be able to block Shatter. Okay, I'm seeing some aiming issues, but that's just because, you know, maybe you're not practiced enough on Sigma. Being able to foresee the travel time and the distance that well. So now you gotta back off. This is where you, by the way, can shield the high ground. So there's two things that Siguld enable. Of course, with your Siguld, you're able to fly on high grounds and take off angles, right? You can do damage yourself while in Siguld, which is nice, but you need to be careful of getting stunned out by the McCree or the Sigma, for example. So what you could have done is you had a shield thrown over to the Ash, and you can just contest the Ash while flying right now. There's no real point in backing off here. You know, what I meant was, when the Ash was up here, right? You put your barrier in her face. What you could have done after you put the barrier in her face, since you ulted, like these people, you could have yourself flew up here behind your shield, right? Stay behind your shield and just pressure the Ashe of the high ground, which she is now, but she's still full HP. You could have maybe even killed her. As long as you have your shield, you should be safe. Okay, I see you wasting rock again. It's fine. Okay, your sucking here is fine. Both of your supports died. So, what was your support positioning? What was your support positioning? Could you have saved your supports? Let's rewind some seconds and get an off angle to see if you could have saved your supports. The Ana moving towards you was a big mistake. The Ana could have just moved behind instead of like... I mean, she kind of did move behind you. What is this angle of Heinun? What is this, F12? Yeah, you're not quite in there. That's kind of unlucky. Yeah, that's unlucky, I guess. Almost. So yeah, you should be able to kill that Rhine. Push. Okay, yeah, McCree dies. Unlucky. Again, you could have hit the Ashe instead, for example, with another roll. I would recommend some aim practice. Again, you're just throwing in the rocks when they are not really able to hit. I know the Sigma was using suck, so you tried to rock him, but there's no way you could have connected that rock. Rock is unfortunately not an ability you can use on cooldown. You need to be thinking about what you rock, when you rock, where you rock. See, for example, this is an easy kill. So Lucio saves it. See, again, aiming issues. You don't know what you're aiming at. I don't know what your sensitivity is, but I put it in the Discord where I am working together with you as well. Try, if you're playing on controller, a high sensitivity, of course, because you want to turn around fast. But also, if you're using aim assist, put your aim assist on 100 and your window size fairly small, so you can aimbot onto targets. The aim assist will literally lock onto targets if you're playing with aim assist. Also, this is bad. Now you just, you know, you gave the enemy an opportunity to still push this by dying here.
My ultimate is charging. 10 seconds. They're almost out of time. Stop them here and now.
Lucky you missed. You probably were trying to catch the Ashe and the McCree. That is quite impossible though, since they both have movement abilities and they could move into different directions from each other. So yeah. Let's see your attack. This is a very short thing. Right, this is a very short match. Initiating match.
Ready.
I will talk about some specifics of Sigma after we've concluded watching this.
I understand.
Attackers incoming in 30 seconds.
Do not deviate from the plan, and victory will be ours.
Understood. Acknowledged.
Well then, hello, move, thank you. Not be good. So let's quickly go over stuff. Enemy is playing a Orisa Sigma type comp. Your job really hasn't changed that much. You need to outmatch enemy Sigma. You need to block hacks whenever possible. Hacks onto your Rhine specifically. You need to eat projectiles for your Rhine and peel for the rest of the team. Still the same jobs. Only that you now need to shield the Sombra when she tries to hack the Rhine, and the Rhine can't really shield himself. Then we have McCree. He can stun you out of suction. So try to, when you 1v1 him, try to block the flashbang with a shield, or try to not play in the flash range, because you can do that since you have range damage. Of course, you can off angle since they have a bunker type pump. They usually want to set up as a group, which is good for Sigma. Sigma has splash damage, which will of course damage multiple targets at once, building you faster ultimate. And you can off angle when the Orisa shield is at front, for example, and is about to break. The Sigma is usually jumping in for the Orisa, but when you're off angling, the Sigma cannot do that, which creates opportunity. With off angling, I mean going at an angle where you are safe, for example, any high ground position. We can go there right now. Shall we? Okay, for example, what I mean with off angling. Let's fly up a bit. So you see the bunker wants to set up as a group. Let's go here. This is a nice angle. So the bunker wants to set up as a group. Whether they set up here or they rotate back towards this room doesn't really matter. What you want to do is you want to set, of course, your team wants to push in. Now, if your team breaks the Orisa barrier, they're just going to put a Sig barrier instead. So what your team can do is just wait for a moment. You could go through the doorway down here, and you could move up to this high ground, for example. Right? If the enemy was going to hold in this general area, which they're going to probably move back to, you could spam from up here, or you could move around, and even better, in that room, spam downstairs onto them. They're not going to be able to do much, since they need to commit onto either pushing you when you are up here in this room. They need to commit onto pushing you, defending the front line, or if you're up here, they need to somewhat split resources to deal with you. Which they cannot really do, since the new Orisa is unable to protect herself if she used her shield and her fortify. In which scenario Sigma would use Suck or his barrier. When Sigma is occupied with you, your team has a much bigger chance of pushing this bunker since it falls apart. We'll see how you will play this out though. Because this is a short match, I expect you to go through with the first or second push. So there's the Sombra. Probably gonna look towards hacking Orion. So you go for the direct approach. You go for the very, very brawly approach. You just walk right into them, making their shield a bit more useless, since you were able to close the gap. You stunned the Sigma or a suck. That's nice. The Sigma is now a free kill if you kill the lamp. Okay, you're hacked. But the Orisa dies, so you just win. Yeah, you just win. Okay, let's talk some more about the specifics of off-angling and taking angles and stuff before we conclude. So the specifics of off-angling and taking angles here. We want to, of course, not look at you. We want to fly off and pause this. So, the specifics of off-angling on Sigma. We, of course, have multiple positions Sigma can take on defense and attack. Let's take a look at first point. So, when on first point, they move into a bit of a nicer... let's get everything on here. Okay, so when playing first point on defense, there's multiple positions where you as Sigma could go. Since you can boop or boost yourself with your own orbs, you can start up this high ground with Sigma. You can start up here on this high ground and spam down. This is a thing you could do to start. You want to take angles similar to Reinhardt, since you can spam quite easily around corners, since you have a low fire rate but high burst potential. So you can use corners like the building corners, peek out and shoot from there. That would be a thing you could do. People usually start around this area. You can, since you have your shield and your suck, then after using your cooldowns and pressure the enemy by shooting a bit, you can rotate back towards your team and hold another corner. For example, this corner. This would just be an example, right? You could hold this corner. What you could also do as Sigma is when playing a bunker type comp, which would not even like really start up here. You as Sigma could start here and then move backwards, like I said, but your bunker type comp will stand somewhere around here. So as your bunker comp stands, because your bunker comp is somewhere around here, we will see you play somewhere near them. You can either play directly with them, or you can off angle, which is the thing most Sigmas do where they get most value. Since your abilities can reach people over a fairly long distance, you can stay close to people, but it is always stronger to have another angle you could shoot from. Since you can like avoid shields and stuff and do massive amounts of damage. When your team is holding, for example, in this room, you yourself can set up on this high ground. Right here. And then move downwards or drop down towards your team whenever needed. You could also play completely different. If your team decides to set up somewhere else or is moved entirely, you could also set up on this high ground, off angling completely. So this is a scenario where you would rarely go, right? If your team is forced here and you move all the way around, you can sometimes spam it to the backline of the enemy team. If the enemy team is moving this way, for example, and is trying to pressure your bunker this way, you can spam into their back, right, from above. If, however, they were to move the shorter and more correct way, which is this way, you could also take a different off-angle route, which would be to move from this high ground position over to the bridge, right? To like up here. And spam them from here behind. Also, if you want to be very creative, while they're pushing, you could move here, then jump this gap, then use your orbs to jump onto this high ground. Will also be an option. This way, you are able to spam them from here when they are directly pushing your team from an off angle. However, you need to have the resources to be able to get back, right? Since you're usually alone when off-angling, there's a chance that there will be multiple people going after you. So you need to call out to your team, or you need to ask your team if there's somebody pushing you. If so, you need to be able to rotate back or use your cooldowns to get back to your team without dying. Because if you die, that's crucial, especially when you're playing an Orisa. For second point, right, since you can use Sigma jumps and such also, this high ground wins or loses fights. Why does this high ground decides on who wins and who loses fights? Fairly simple. This high ground decides who wins or loses fights because it takes the choke space, it takes the frontal space, and it takes the back space. Also, when you're up here, you can jump this gap sometimes on different heroes and with Street Boost, for example, which puts you up on like all this high ground back here. Wins your games. What you want to set up a Sigma is you want to set up in this window kind of position. Of course, in the beginning, spam downwards. Then if the enemy approaches, you can spam this way. And if your entire team is set up here, great. Because you can always rotate back towards point. And you should be kind of safe. Other than that, you can always use corners like these, or you can also like set up on this high ground or the opposite high ground on the other side, or this high ground right here, or the high ground up there, like on this side. This is a position where you could set up or go flank to off angling. Same goes for attack, right? If your team is pushing down main, for example, let's go have a nicer look at this. So this is a bit trickier to capture all, but we can make it work maybe. Sort of like this. I don't really like this perspective, but we have to work with it. If your team were to push down main, or were able to push the enemy team off high ground, which made the enemy team rotate backwards towards point, you as Sigma, instead of going with the main group, could go this way, ramp up on high ground, and spam them from behind. You can also use your orbs to jump this gap and spam them from this high ground. You can always off-angle a Sigma since you can use your orbs to jump larger gaps. You can use fly to get on high grounds. The possibilities are endless. So more tips with Sigma: you can throw up your shield into the air. For example, if you're scared of getting rocked or hooked or flashbanged, you can throw up a shield when you want to ult. Your ult can be used offensively and defensively. So when you don't have follow-up, for example, for your ult, or the enemy has a Genji Blades or something, and you don't have a supportive ultimate like Lucio Beat or Transcendence, you can use your Flux to lift the Genji and kill him. Sigma is just a very versatile hero, and I want you to use it in a very versatile way. For you specifically, I want you to play a bit less with the team as like an entire group. Off angle a bit more. Also be wary of your surroundings a bit more. There's some shields you could have thrown better at some different targets that were quite free. You missed because your aim isn't that good on this hero. Which of course is difficult because, you know, the difference between Sigma and many heroes is he has travel time on his projectiles, and you need to direct hit to do like big damage, and the distance is not that long, so it's not hit scan. You have to calculate projectile speed and where it will max explode. Like, what is the max reach of your orbs? You need to like kind of know that off your head. Cooldown management wise, I would like you to not always throw your rock in. You wasted your rock quite often throwing it into groups or into shields. In the Sigma 1v1 keep your rock until the enemy Sigma uses suck and then try to hit him with the rock. Don't just use it on the shield. The rock is quite an important tool, and if you keep wasting it just for like raw damage or to have a chance in order to hit it, right? If there's just a chance you can hit it, then it doesn't really make up for the loss of resources. Your suck usage was fine. For example, you sucked the McCree ult, you sucked some abilities, or you sucked some shots that would have otherwise killed you, which is fine. You can use the suck to peel more for your other tank. You can like put yourself inside the other tank player in order to suck in front of them. Other than that, I think this is fine so far. I'm probably gonna see more stuff once I look at a longer replay. This was quite a short one. Although the video is quite long, so maybe you're not even gonna watch the entire video, who knows. Anyways, this was me, Tyrect, coaching caprawolven from Golden Chains, and I catch you in the next one. Smile.